side. Step forward. After all, you know me well. Take off your mask now. It's your home. Welcome, little prince. Why the sullen look? Aren't you glad to see me? You finally made it here. It must have taken quite a long time. So, you don't remember me. I'm afraid it might have something to do with the form in which I see you now. This body and soul, they're much different from what I expected. But to answer your question, I am the Weaver. And though it may be hard for you to believe, a part of you knows me all too well. Because it is easier for me to address you this way than to accept that, for now, you are nothing more than a human. It is painful, but I must come to terms with it. It is a place where my prince was woven from the threads of pure potential. The Pale Lady was relentless in her desire to fulfill her vision of an offspring, modeled after those she watched so eagerly. It displeases me that you don't remember. I'd envisioned your return and our meeting quite differently. But now it all makes sense. Now I understand why you need that shard. Nothing remarkable. I simply exist in this place. That you ended up here is a mere coincidence. None of my kind have visited me in a long time. Yet here, I used to weave new Avalonians, shaping them according to the intent and thought that accompanied their creation. Now the thread of potential is much weaker, though it seems this place stirs to life again as the weirdness returns. She was a powerful Avalonian, one of the oldest. She saw and desired far more than the rest of her kin, who were suffocating in their growing decadence. To live a life where one can do anything, it loses all meaning. When she discovered the homelands and learned of mortality and time, everything changed. We were no longer the same. It was as though the mere awareness of such things altered the way we lived. We could no longer exist as we once had. It planted a new emotion in us. Fear. You will find traces of her here as well. The stone tablets bear her mark. I'm afraid I must admit that I don't know where she is now. It seems she retreated into her depths again after your king entered his eternal sleep. The true one, from which mortals are not meant to be awakened. Not like this. The shard of the prince's memory. It is shattered. Much like the fragmented memory of the king that lingers within you. I'd gladly speak with him, but something is preventing him from manifesting. I don't know all the details. What I do know is that after our prince was murdered by our kin, his potential, what you humans might call his soul, did not perish. The prince had been deeply fascinated by humans, and so after his death he manifested in one of them. That person was Arthur, the man who would one day become your king. He followed his mother's fascination. Much like her, he gazed upon the land of men. But he wished to go further. He wanted to experience being human. So he built the menhirs, and to repel the weirdness. For us, the Four Dwellers, such a vision was both heretical and terrifying. Some of our kin could not forgive him for it. So, they killed him. It was the first time an Avalonian had ever slain one of their own. Arthur was a man, mortal like any other, but ambitious like few. But yes, his origins are far more complicated. This is a tale of two separate realities that, through a series of specific events, began to intersect, forming a single knot. Everything that has happened, and everything that will happen, is meant to decide the fate of that knot. And we, as you likely already know, have been pulled into all of this. Our meeting comes to an end. I regret how brief it is, but my role in your story was always meant to be insignificant.
Have you seen the sealed gate?
Speak up. I never doubted your discretion.
meet again, Lost Prince. I was mistaken about our previous encounter. I erred in thinking I had unraveled what the Pale Lady had planned for the both of us. But I should have known better than to presume or anticipate the moves of someone as shrewd as her. I am tired, Prince. I am so terribly tired. I feel burned out. I can't weave anymore. I don't want to. Never imagined that such a moment could come. Oh, what a truly sorrowful thing. To accept that all things must finally fade. You meeting me? As I mentioned upon your first visit, I thought it was just a coincidence. A fortunate weave of various events that, under a different alignment of stars and smaller choices, would never have come to pass. However, it turns out that I was meant to fulfill a specific role, and it was not to weave new life as I once believed. To weave bridges between you and her despair. Bridges that would allow you to gather the memory shards. She used me. Yet I cannot even bring myself to be angry with her. I see now that she seeks to restore the bonds that once were, before her world shattered and fell into ruin. The pain of a mother who has lost her child, it is difficult to comprehend, especially for us. For centuries, we never had to face loss, and then only by gazing upon you humans, we had to deal with the idea of death. To live in a world in which everything has to die, such a horrible and terrifying thing. Her desire was to bring her son back. I understand that, but can't really empathize with it. Understanding others has always been the strength of humankind. And anger? I'm not sure. For now, I just want peace. I don't want the weirdness. I don't want to weave. I don't want to feel. She hopes that by restoring her son's memory, she will finally bring him back. The Pale Lady wants to put you on a proper path. Yet she does not realize how daunting and impossible this challenge truly is. But those driven by despair rarely measure their actions with reason. Places like this one, or the one where we met before, were chosen by the Pale Lady for a reason. On their own, they're nothing more than aberrations twisted by the weirdness. To bridge your reality and ours, someone had to weave the passages. That someone was me. In both instances, I believed all my efforts were aimed at weaving a new Fordweller, for the first time in centuries. But the truth was far from that. The Archspire was a bridge to the place where her son was born. In that cave, I wove the prints from the threads of the weirdness granted to me by the Pale Lady. They were resonating with great desire. It seems the place we stand in now was marked as the place where I had to create the next passage. Since we lost the war against your kind, we retreated to Tuathan, severing ourselves from the rest of Avalon. All the while, the weirdness has continued to change. It has grown wilder, more untamed, and far harder to control, even for us. For centuries, places like this seemed lifeless, stripped of their potential. And then the spark began to return. It was then that I resumed my work. I do not dare to peer beyond my lost prince. I feel that what lies ahead is bound to a profoundly intimate and ineffably personal aspect of the Pale Lady. It is between you and her. Prince, it is time to go. Leave me behind. Hopefully that will grant me freedom. Farewell.
There's no greater joy than watching how a son, born of desire, grows. There's no greater despair than watching how a son, born of one's own thought, perishes. And now you stand here, hidden deep within, and even I cannot fathom what my heart feels. Still torn, for you are not wholly him, my son, my prince of Tuat. Yet there is a flicker of joy within me, for you carry the soul of an Arthur, whose life was chosen for my son. This means the fragments of memory I gathered and kept safe may be saved. The heart, bleeding and plagued, a fragment of me, of my despair, accidentally brought into existence upon the homelands. My tears seeped into your soil, birthing a terror that became inseparably bound to your kind. The specter, the Red Death. Unintentionally, I could not have foreseen what such an entanglement of our realities would bring. I could not have known the depths of pain wrought by the loss of a beloved child. When it started to spread, I couldn't find a way to stop it. I am so terribly sorry. Arthur believed that abandoning the homelands would stop the plague. The Red Church committed truly horrific acts in their desperate attempt to halt the blight. Yet, no matter what you humans do, the plague will always return. It's like a curse cast upon your kind. And so, you will drown in my tears. I want my son back. You walk your own path, yet you will be faced with choices. I hope that, among them, you will find a way to bring my son back. However, I cannot impose my will upon you. It took me a long time to understand that not everything should be demanded by force. I believe so. And you are already working tirelessly toward this, whether you realize it or not. Since my son's fate became entwined with that of Arthur, the king of mortals, it is necessary to reconstruct the soul of the ruler whose essence you carry within your heart. You will also need the fragments of my son's memory, the ones I so carefully concealed for you to find. Beyond that, the Weaver may possess something helpful. His life-giving spindle. It may prove invaluable when the final trial comes. If you manage to find him, take it. He is no longer bound by the places I created for him, where he could work in peace. I have a feeling he may have returned to his workshop, deep within the Forlorn Swords. It is a tale about the Prince of the Four Dwellers, who unexpectedly became the king of humankind. Arthur. We are connected. In the homelands, he heard my call from beyond the mist. It guided him to Avalon. I met him during his journey. I gifted him with the sword, the specter of which you now carry within yourself. He is someone very dear to me. Someone I lost decades ago, whose soul found a new body in your lands. As you already know, we found a way to gaze upon the homelands. My son was fascinated by humans, fascinated by your impermanence and fragility. When one has to deal with entropy and decay, everything suddenly gains far greater significance, doesn't it? You must have desired to live the life of a human. Perhaps it is one of the most powerful manifestations ever achieved by a Four-Dweller. Oh, the Weaver. I remember the spark of joy that lit up his pale face when he saw what emerged from the threads of weirdness I gifted him. A living being, brimming with such boundless potential. So vibrant with life. He always had a fondness for my child. He called him the Prince. In the homelands, I saw a powerful thing that we Four Dwellers lacked. It was love, one of many emotions I had to learn. We lived in a world where everything was potent and possible. It made us live a life where we were drowning in decadence. I longed for something more. Our emotional structure was much less complicated than yours. You were quite an inspiration. Yes, I am fully aware that my will to bring Arthur to the shores of Avalon brought war and ruin upon my own kin. What would you have me say? There are no proper words for this. I will simply fall silent. Draw your own conclusions. Yes, although that was a horribly distorted part of me, now I feel more whole. The emptiness is sharper. The sorrow, far more profound. One aspect of the potential of the weirdness is that it can serve as a tool. For that, I needed a craftsman. Someone who could sense even the thinnest threads of that potential as part of a greater whole. Every Four Dweller could manipulate the weirdness to some degree. But not all did so with the finesse of the Weaver. He could harness that potential for something far, far greater, like weaving a new life, for example. My skills lay elsewhere. Among them was the ability to peer beyond the horizon of our civilization, to see a different world, a world without the weirdness, a world filled with meaning and purpose, constructed through intricate connections, a single living organism, yet full of individuality at the same time. I feel that sometimes you do not realize just how extraordinary your land truly was. Are you sure? If you have anything to ask, ask now. This may be our last meeting before the end of things. Are you sure this may... So, it is done. I am glad my heart could host you. I hope you will succeed in reaching the goal you pursue. You leave this place with another shard. Use the memory of my son wisely. One more thing. That perfect obedience will no longer be your burden. It was never my will, but rather a flawed interpretation by humans, consumed with the madness of the dying. Farewell.
The center cannot hold, little prince. The fall, it is already here. Step further, and see for yourself. And so you have arrived. I look at you and I feel what you humans call resentment and bitterness. Lies and lost purpose. That is what happened. The Pale Lady managed to create places full of accumulated weirdness. I thought that those were gifts from her, for all those centuries we spent together. A vote of thanks for creating you. But no. After our second meeting, I grasped from the very beginning I was used. All my attempts to weave a new Foredweller, how utterly meaningless it all was. A place that was once my workshop. I spent decades here unraveling the secrets of threads of the weirdness. Eventually, I learned enough about the structure of pure potential to weave life itself. Before that, my kin emerged from the depths of Tuathan, born out of the chaos. We couldn't control that. You, my prince, were my greatest pride. The most beautiful creation I ever wove. Yes, it consumes me entirely. I feel like I want you to die. I regret creating you. I regret that you lived and still live. I regret that your death, Prince, was not final. Regret. 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 So much regret. If you had never come to be, or if the Pale Lady had not desired to have you, none of this would have come to pass. She looked at the humans and wished to be like them. She wanted to be a mother. You too. Everything that has happened over the last 6 centuries, it is all because of you. It has to end. No, the world is chaos. Fate is governed by threads of events that seem unrelated. Yet they weave together in knots. Knots that tighten, growing stronger and exerting greater influence on everything around them. The Pale Lady, the Prince, and the once and future King Arthur, they have all had far too great an impact on reality. This ends here and now. I'm deeply sorry it has come to this.
stijlen, die schuren zeilen.